Final hour for the week. OverDrive continues. Brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. We'll get to our best bets brought to you by FanDuel later in the hour. Dear Hayesy-B in about a half an hour. Brian Boyle making his debut on the show as an analyst anyway. I think we probably had him on back in the day as a player. But get his take on where the Leafs are at, among other things around the NHL. Patrick Kane made his debut last night. What turned out to be a pretty wild game. Actually, they were up 4-0, and the Sharks stormed back.
Lost in overtime. Detroit, They pissed a point away. The Sharks have had that. I think most of their wins have been like come from behind kind of crazy, and they've been hanging in there. They're getting some points recently.
What would the mood be here if that happened here?
San
Jose goes into Toronto and storms back.
Detroit,
it's like, yeah, that's pretty crappy, but we'll go get him tomorrow night.
Well, that's the thing about where the Leafs are at. Again, they're 7-1-2 in their last 10. That's, I believe, the best 10-game record in the league. Like in terms of just purely the last 10 games, which can be deceptive. Again, you don't know who's playing who, road games, back-to-backs, etc. But 7-1-2 in your last 10, if you were just looking at that, you'd say, well, that's the hottest team in the league. Like if you weren't watching the games, you'd just say 7-1-2, that's the hottest team in the league. But in Toronto, we watch the games, and that's not the reaction. It's, there's defensive issues. They're throwing away this. They're throwing away that. They're not showing up to play on time. Now you got Joseph Woll hurt. And like last night, Lagesson got pulled from the game right before due to illness. And like you look at that defense core with the injuries, even the depth guys are getting pulled out of games. And yet it's patchwork and they're finding a way to get points. Like I don't think that's coming up enough in the dialogue about this team. Obviously not perfect. Obviously the way they're playing right now would not put them in a position to win a Stanley Cup. Cannot happen. But guess what? It's December. It's not April or May
and
or
think
June.
of the alternative. The Edmonton Oilers didn't get any points early on, and guess what? They're fighting for their life as well as they're playing right now, and they're still just above Anaheim and San Jose. That's what all these wins of late have got them because they got no points at the beginning. So take your pick. What would you like? The fact that they've been able to scratch and claw and be in the position they're in right now, at least take the positive out of it.
Well, the Leafs are 2 points behind Detroit, 2 points behind Florida, and they got 2 games in hand on both teams.
Yeah.
So you play out the games in hand, the Leafs could be second in the division, and it's December. Where you look at Tampa, like they lost again last night. Tampa's 12-11-5. They've played 28 games. The Leafs are a point up on Tampa. They have 5 games in hand. Yeah. And, I think if there's panic, that's where the panic should be in terms of these legacy teams in the Atlantic that have been in the playoffs every year. Boston's doing exactly what they've been doing for years. They're going to punch a ticket. They're going to the playoffs. Tampa, at what point do we start having the conversation that it's not a lock that the Lightning are going to make it? How far off are we from that?
I don't know.
Or should we not be having it right now?
Panic? You know what? I don't think panic, but I agree. I still think it's too early because there's 60 games. Do the math, I guess. I don't want to butcher it, but 58 games, 56 games. You still got a lot of points out there, but they don't look consistent. Now, Vasilevsky gets a shutout to come off. They just haven't. The fact that they haven't been consistent enough, and they're one game above 500. That's really the reality of it. But I still think this Atlantic is going to be a dogfight. But you look at that Senators team; they're one game under 500. They didn't play last night like a game under. They looked like a pretty good team, did they not?
Early on for sure they were flying, and then they had chances to close too. Wall
did.
just played great.
Wall was ridiculous.
Amazing last night.
That's
Ottawa
the best
was
I've
a better
ever seen
team.
them play.
Yep.
Well, yeah, but they didn't get any points out of it. That's the thing. That's the biggest challenge right now. That Atlantic. It's a juggernaut just based on the teams that are in there. They're all competitive, including Montreal that, it hasn't gone away type of thing.
Yeah, to their credit. I mean, Montreal is I think they end up where we all think they're going to end up. But
I agree.
Through 26 games, their head is above water at a minimum. And, it's an interesting time because, again, everyone's dealing with injuries, cap issues, et cetera. And in early December, I would guess in the room, teams should be pretty confident. And we got a guy on the line here who was in the league not long ago, played a long time in the NHL, former Leaf. Now you see him and hear him on the NHL Network. Here's Brian Boyle. How you doing, Brian?
Hey, fellas. Good. How are you?
We're doing very well. Just, talking about, league-wide, really, issues, but the Atlantic Division in particular where, the Leafs are 7-1-2 in their last 10. Yet people are, poking holes in what they're like, who they have, who they need. Tampa's kind of up and down. Ottawa's up and down. I mean, outside of Boston, it feels like this division is kind of difficult to predict at this point.
Boston's 5-4-1 in their last 10.
Right.
You know what? Go around the league and just look at all even the last 2 days. Look at all the blown leads. I don't know what to make of anything. It's just, it's crazy. And then you got Ottawa, they played last night, right? They had 21 games played. They're not the only team that went to Europe. And they played, 16 at home. So I don't know what's going to happen with them. Buffalo's been kind of disappointing, I guess, and Detroit's been a nice story in that Atlantic. I don't know what people expected of Florida, but I expected them to be really competitive, so they look like a problem. Lightning are like one step forward, one step back. It's really hard to gauge, and this is probably the most hockey I've watched in my life.
It's a lot. Brian, what do you make of Pittsburgh, where they're at right now? I know they had that loss in Tampa, and they had a supposed player-only meeting. What could possibly go on in that meeting with those caliber of players at this point in the season that could possibly turn it around?
I just think people need to just find a role and stick to it. They have so much. The power play is sort of a microcosm of it. When it's working, it's kind of untouchable. And it hasn't worked in a while, which is bizarre to me. And it looks like they don't know where to go. They're all spread out. They're forcing plays. I don't know. They can make things happen, but they don't have to a lot of times, and they're trying to. Their saving grace is their +8. They're a 500 team. You win 11 games out of 25. They call that 500, but they're plus. And I still believe in that. I still think they're going to come, but I still think Jersey's going to come. Mm-hmm. And the Islanders are kind of hanging around, and I think the Hurricanes, who played poorly, are going to get better. Maybe Philly takes a dip, but where are they going to go? That's a lot of. It's not necessarily the points, but there's a lot of teams to climb. So I worry about them, but and last year was weird too because you get full seasons from Sid and Gino, and great seasons from Sid and Gino, and they didn't make the playoffs. So it's something. It goes with the theme of I can't really get a handle on it. Who I can get a handle on is like the LA Kings and the Vegas Golden Knights and the Dallas Stars, these heavy, big, strong teams that defend and have structure, and they win games. And the Bruins, their start, it's because they're their goaltending, and their structure. And those are the teams that win in the playoffs. For people who like to run and gun, it's like the playoffs are the same every year. And that's why I'm not going crazy here thinking about all these blown leads and stuff. It's just wild that so many teams are going through it.
With Brian Boyle, well, you mentioned L.A. Didn't they just win their 11th straight in a row, setting a new NHL record? And that includes back-to-backs and a long road trip, and incredibly impressive. And I think we all agree with that assessment what you just said, Brian. I mean, you played in the league. These two guys played. They understand it. When it gets to the playoffs, certain teams and the way that they play, it always works. But I would say one of those teams that I would have defined that way would have been Carolina. I flipped on the first last night. They were up 2-0. I'm like, they're going to beat Calgary 5-0. And they blew a 2-goal lead in the third. They lost to Calgary last night. And that's Rod Brindamore is talking to Darren Pang during the game tonight.
Nothing.
I thought they were going to crush Calgary. And even Carolina couldn't hold on last night.
I think their save percentage has been pretty poor.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. But I also think they've been figured out a little bit. I think there's a book on them. I think they come at you so hard, and their D sort of, I call it like they play ping pong and just wait for you to try to make a play, and then they'll counter. Like you see them in the neutral zone on regroups. They don't regroup. They don't even attempt to make a pass. They just bang it off the glass. And I get it. It's worked, and they've won playoff rounds, and they just can't get over the hump. And I always thought maybe it was a superstar that they needed, that game breaker that could, even if you're getting outplayed, could score a goal in one shift, sort of change momentum that they didn't necessarily have. But I think maybe it's like a month of tape the other team gets to watch what you're going to do in the playoffs, and like, this is what you're going to do. And, you know, when you get down to the last four teams, they're all pretty well coached. They get picked apart. So I'm not saying Rod's not a good coach. He's obviously done a tremendous job with that team, just the buy-in that he's gotten. But they're all another year older. They're all, you know, they're still doing the same things. It's not an easy system physically to play, I don't think. But yeah, it's odd to see them give that up, especially with what they had in the back end. I remember talking about them before the season, adding Orlov, and, you know, their D are stacked, it seems. So it's like, I don't know how anyone's going to get to the net. And unfortunately for them, it's just been a little disjointed.
Brian, I just love the fact that you say LA Kings, Vegas Golden Knights, big, strong, physical, structured. But I just love the what, like, is structured an option for them? And you said it best when you said they'll probably be one of the, you know, a bunch of the teams that are left standing at the end. So why is structure like an option for teams, or like a non-negotiable thing? I don't know how it's not a non-negotiable thing. It's like, you have to play this way to win. Do teams say it's too stressful and too tiring on the players to do it for 82 and the playoffs? Can you flip the switch and then just do it in the playoffs? It kind of drives me crazy for teams that think they can just wheel around out there and be a top-level team.
It's maddening. It's maddening to me, especially with talented teams.
Yes.
Because you're going to have injuries, but if you all play within the same set of rules, like your top players all the way down, you have injuries, you have call-ups. Like, and again, the Bruins are a great example of, you know, you lose Char, you have Bergeron. You lose Bergeron, you even have Marchand. But everybody falls in line to a certain standard of defending. Like, this is where our game starts and ends, and then we're going to find our chances throughout. You know, some nights we're not going to get as many chances. That's why we have two great goalies. Those are things that you need to continually build and work on, because different things get thrown at you in the playoffs, and you're going to be ready for all of them when you're playing the same way. It's like you have more dress rehearsals throughout the whole season. You can't just say, we're going to have fun tonight, and then we'll start preparing for the playoffs in March. Well, it's already gotten the guy fired in Edmonton. Then the first game in the first period of the new coach in Edmonton, there's a dirty play on the wall. The puck's going up the wall. No one has full possession. It's contested. It's not a clean breakout, and the center iceman blows the zone, and it goes from the boards to the slot for a one-time goal for Matt Barzal. I don't know if you guys remember that.
I remember that.
40 seconds into the game.
Of a new coach.
And it's the best player in the world blowing the zone. Well, and he's committed to defense. No, he's not. Stop. Play defense. It makes me crazy. Like, get 100 points instead of 150, and you'll win championships. It drives me bananas.
Brian, do you?
I love it. We love
the passion. No, we've had this debate on the show, and I wanted to bring you in on it. You know, you're a big, physical, tough guy. Do you still believe that intimidation is a factor in today's game?
Tom Wilson's going to intimidate somebody. He skates so well. It's a different type. Like, if you don't answer the bell, you're not going to get quite embarrassed, and I don't think it's going to go around the league like, oh, this guy's not going to fight, this guy's not going to fight. I think, but Tom Wilson's intimidating. The way he can skate and his clean body checks can hurt people, and I think that's a weapon. But answering the bell, I guess, I don't know. I've seen, you see fights, but it's just, there were guys that were scary, and you had to kind of make sure you all stuck together. Like, people were upset about Luke Hughes getting hit. I think it was last week or something, and and they can go back and forth. Like I like Torts' comments too recently about being prepared to be hit.
Yeah.
There's just less fighting, and which is fine. I think the organic fights are awesome. Guys who you don't normally fight, like Gustafsson in New York fought the other day because his D partner got hit high, and that's awesome because no matter who you're fighting, you still could catch one and get hurt. It takes some courage to go in and do it. But in terms of intimidating, if you're a big, strong guy who can body check and hit hard, I guess that's what the intimidation is now. And again, with Tom Wilson, it's like, what are you going to do to stop him? Because if you really want to stop him, you're going to try and fight him, and he's pretty darn good at that too.
Well, he threw a hit the other night, I think, where he just destroyed someone, and it was a defenseman.
Who did he blow up?
Yes, and like
Jersey, I think. Jersey.
Right. Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
And his D partner went over and was like, "Hey, man, don't do that." Like it was kind of, and you feel for the guy because, well, like to your point, he can skate and he can hit, but he might be the toughest pound for pound fighter in the league or close to it, and he's ferocious. Like when he fights with anger. That's even scarier because then he can really get you.
Yeah, it throws hard. Those hurt too. They're
Those
good
hurt.
I still think there's a place for that because it's more and more like a unicorn now. But, geez, sign him up long term like they did in Wash. I mean,
no kidding.
Keep him as long as you can.
That's the plan. He is Brian Boyle. It's great catching up with you, Brian. Thank you for doing this, man. We'll have to do it again soon.
Absolutely, gentlemen. Thank you so much for having me.
You got it.
Thanks,
Brian
Brian.
Boyle, former Leaf and NHL Network analyst, which is a perfect segue into our Maple Leaf Player of the Day. Every day this week, we've been announcing current and former Maple Leaf players, and today's player is Brian Boyle.
Oh,
there you go. Doogie on the ball. Brian Boyle. Call us now at 416-870-1050, 416-870-1050. Today's player is Brian Boyle, and this week we're giving away a pair of tickets to see the Leafs play the Penguins December 16th. First caller in with all 5 players named this week, you're picking up a pair of tickets. Plus, we're throwing in a $250 Vanilla Visa prepaid card with each pair of tickets to make it the ultimate game night. Vanilla Visa prepaid cards are available for purchase at Petro Canada. 416-870-1050. If you call in and get the tickets, ask Doogie, too, if he's hearing anything about Otani. Right? Doogie's been texting us saying
apparently
he's got friends.
Apparently the bird was a Toronto businessman with his
Shark
family.
Tank guy or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, big collars, right? What's his name? Robert Hershevik or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah. That's gotta be wild, him getting off the private plane, being like, I know I'm kind of famous, but what's up, everybody? How's everyone doing here? Yeah, so anyway, Shohei Ohtani is still in Southern California. He's not a Blue Jay. He's not on the verge of being a Blue Jay. That said, anything could change at any time, right? Like, a guy's going to make a decision in the next little while. He's not going to take this into January and February and March. He's a free agent. He's going to sign and move on with his life. But Jays are in the running, but so are the Dodgers still, you would assume. So are possibly the Angels, maybe the Giants. Maybe there's mystery teams out there. Who knows? But Shohei Ohtani is not in Toronto. He's not on his way to Toronto. And the rest is history. Dear Hayesy-B later in the hour. We haven't heard anything on Joseph Woll today. He went for an MRI. But that was the story of the night last night. You guys were both in the building. It was a fun game. The Leafs end up winning in regulation, which that always has to come up. Regulation win. But the reason they were in that position was Joseph Woll was as good as he was. And him getting injured.
Terrible, man.
It's terrible for him, and it's going to put a lot of pressure on this team. Like, Samsonov's got to snap out of it now.
Well,
right?
Is he even back skating?
He's been sick. Like, he's been dealing with some sort of an illness. So he may not play tomorrow night. But this is why you had Martin Jones, right? And this is why you're lucky that he got through waivers.
Quickly, that Jones did a good job coming in at the time he did last night, because I was looking at the clock and I was sitting beside Meth and I go, how warm could this guy be? And Noodles, you'd know better than anybody. 8 minutes left in the game. You were in La La Land on that bench. And it's 100%. Like, go in there and win it.
Yeah.
He did good.
And he had to make some big stops, too.
Yeah, he made a couple in tight that I thought were really good. It's tough because usually after the second period, unless there's an injury, you're not going in, right? So you kind of take your foot off the gas a little bit. That's where the popcorn comes in. That's where, like, honestly, I can speak from experience. And, yes, you've been thrown in. But Martin Jones, this is the one thing of why I thought it was a really good signing by Tree. And I even talked about it earlier in the year. That the fact that they got him to the minors, this guy has 445 games of experience. Mm-hmm. So he wasn't going to be overly, rattled of coming in. The guy knows how to play. He'd only played 5 games in the minors this year because he traveled with them to Sweden. He's been their third goalie, kind of been up because they had to take 3 to Sweden. But he just hasn't played. He just hasn't played a lot. So, the adrenaline took over. I thought he was sharp. He's a guy who doesn't get very excited anyways. He's a pretty low-key, laid-back guy. Mm-hmm. But I thought he did a terrific job. That's a tough position.
For this kid, it puts the process, it just hits the brakes on it and probably puts it in rewind, and he's just got to start from below where he started from this time. It's like... Yeah. Get through the injury, rehab, and do all that nonsense. I have no idea how long it's going to be. When the coach says time, it's a long time. He's not coming back next week.
No, it's not. And Keefe is generally reluctant to give many details. Most coaches will just say, I don't know, I haven't spoke with the trainer. He even was willing to say it's going to be some time, and then he went on to say, effectively it sucks for us and for this kid in his career. He's building up his career, and it was just a great story that was trending in the right direction, that Joseph Woll had established himself early in the season as the go-to guy. Yeah. He had just started a bunch of games in a row. If you got through last night, you start him probably against Nashville tomorrow night, right?
Yeah, you've said in the past, Hayes, one of your favorite abilities is?
Availability.
Availability.
It's the most important ability. If you're not available, then you're out of the picture.
Kidding. And I remember back to the great goaltenders. It was like you played Buffalo, Hasek was going to be in the net, man.
Yeah.
And you go to Jersey 2 nights later, and Marty Brodeur is going to be down there. Yeah. And then you go out to Colorado, and Patty Waugh is going to be in there. I'm not saying they never had injuries, but those guys played a crap load more hockey than what these guys are playing now, and they were never hurt.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's something the way the goaltender position has changed, if they're down a bunch and it's way tougher on their hips and their knees. But those guys played a lot more hockey and they were never hurt. You knew you were going to get them every night.
Yeah. I agree.
And what it does now is it puts the emphasis on Samsonov to ignite his season. Yeah. Not reignite it. He hasn't shown up yet. He hasn't performed very well, and they've been concerned about it.
And it would be a quick conversation. Go in there and do it. We don't have a choice, man.
Last year he was great. He was great for them during the regular season. And, they brought him back, a 1-year deal. It's a platform season for him still. He's got to prove he's an everyday guy in the NHL, and he's worth money and, extensions, et cetera.
Big boy stuff now. The team needs you, and there's no being tough on yourself or feeling sorry for yourself. Go in there and be a big league goaltender and win some games for us. End of story.
Has to happen because the team is going to chug on, man. Game with or without Joseph Woll, the Leafs are playing tomorrow night. And then they're going to Long Island. Then they're playing in the Garden. That's all coming. They got a back-to-back next week. So Samsonov and Jones are playing. And, you're in a race. We started this segment talking about the nature of the league right now and what's going on in the Atlantic Division. You're in a race, and your season did not come to an end last night because Joseph Woll's banged up and out for an extended period of time. You've got Samsonov, you got Jones. Keep going. You got to keep winning games.
Agreed.
That easy. That simple. Yep. All right, Dear Hayesy-B coming up. Our best bets brought to you by FanDuel. A little bit later in the hour, Melanin Fridays brought to you by Boston Pizza's new Square Footer Pizzas. BP is reinventing the wheel with our 3 new Square Footer Pizzas, an entire square foot of more cheese, crunch, and taste. These new pizzas are an absolute must-try at your local BP tonight. Dear Hayesy-B is forthcoming. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
Insight, the ability to see and understand why you do the things you do.
Dear Hayesy-B.
We're going to go down there and have a donkey barbecue, and I'm going to furnish the ass, right?
You don't want to hide a Mars bar in your sleeping bag when there's a bear outside the tent.
You guys know the deal here.
Yep.
It's been a long time since we've helped people. Agreed?
Yeah, it has been a long time. But just schedules haven't worked. Dear Hayesy-B, though, is back, and that's all that matters.
And we have a code red right off the top.
Oh, yeah?
Because it's our producer again.
Oh, no.
This guy is a C-Flight House League player when it comes to the ladies, and this is an emergency, and we got to go right now. Doogie update. The story around the Raptors game goes on. I've been trying my best to find the right one, and I was still hoping there was an opportunity with the previous date. I've moved on and feel better about myself, but I was sifting through Instagram and came across a story that she was at a Raptors game. Ooh. How do I feel about this? Doogie, she doesn't like you, dude.
She doesn't.
I want to soften this as much as I can, but Doogie, you cannot be on Instagram and
creeping on her stuff.
You can't be creeping, right? You can't be doing it. I think what you need to do here, Doogie, is it's a full block and release, right? Believe me, she's not going to lose sleep over that.
If she didn't come back when she saw you on TV, she's never coming back.
Right. We tried to prop up everything you can bring to the table.
Yeah, we tried to make you look better than you do.
Right. And we love you, Doogie. We love you, Doogie. We support you, Doogie. If it were up to us, every wish would be granted. But sadly, we do not control that. And if you're not familiar with this story, Doogie had invited a woman to a Raptors game about a month and a half ago, and day of, she pulled the chute on him, right? She said something came up, couldn't make it. And Doogie asked our advice on that incognito. We didn't realize it was Doogie. And at the time, we were particularly harsh, and then we found out it was Doogie, and then we tried to soften it. There's no softening it anymore.
Oh.
She likes sports. She likes the Raptors game. Problem is, she's probably just not going to come back in to the circle of friends here, Doogie. So you move on. Lots of fish in the sea. A lot of good people out there. A lot of Raptors games still on the schedule. Get back on the horse. Move on.
Dude, there's a movie, Doogie. She's just not that into you. I hate to say it, but you're the leading role in that movie right now.
Right.
Right?
And we love you, Doogie. We love you. A lot of people love you.
Next week, we'll get him back on the tube. We'll get Doogie dressed up, maybe a suit, and we'll get him back on the tube.
Great idea.
Dear Hayesy-B, my wife's sister broke up with her boyfriend. He and I became total pals when they were dating. I'm talking watching hockey, golfing, hitting the gym. We'd even hang out when the ladies weren't involved at all. Total bros now. My sister-in-law decides to ruin my life and dump him. It's been a couple months, and we've kept it to stop and chats over text. Especially after the one time we hung out since the breakup, I got an earful from the wife and her sister. But now the sister and ex are both dating other people, and it's been a few months. Do I circle back, or should I let the bromance die?
Oh, tough one. Noodles, do you have any professional advice on that?
You might have to just let the bromance die. Like I
shut
still
your
feel
mouth, Jamie. I don't say
it's
that.
It's still too fresh. Like, because you're still going to get an earful. People have moved on. It's still too fresh. I'm telling you. If you like the guy, he'll be there 6 months from now. I think you just take a pause, take a breather.
I think you put the pedal down on the floor with your bromance, and you go to hockey games and you post stuff on social media, and you just tell the world, this is my bro, and we're not changing because of petty stuff. We're grown adults and we're best buddies. You floor it with that friendship.
I agree. The great Chris Farley, playing the role of Tommy Boy, once said, brothers don't shake hands. Brothers got to hug. And I think that's exactly what you do here, because I'd like more details. The way it was phrased was his wife's sister.
Dude, you know what it's like. It's always awkward. They were dating, and it's like, okay, you guys can be buddies. If we break up, don't you dare talk to him.
I understand
think that's
that.
A joke.
I get it, but especially if she broke up with him. Right? If she broke up with him, like if it's the other way, then you're in tough, right? Like if he was like, hey, thanks for everything, I'm out of here, but I'm still going to be friends with your brother-in-law, that's going to be tough, because then you're not going to win that battle, right? Because if he broke her heart, then you're toast. But if it was either mutual or she kicked him to the curb, why should your friendship go with that? Right, I'm with you on this. So I think you can just stay buddies on the side. You got to understand he's probably not coming to the 30th birthday party or 40th birthday party or whatever. But buddies on the side, I got brother-in-laws right now. We're all buddies. We're all friends. I hope we're all family members for the rest of our lives. But
I know. And if anything ever went south, you just got to keep it on the down low. You say, you know what? Let's grab lunch sometime, buddy.
Yeah,
You're not
just
putting
a
it in
little
people's face.
Why not, Noodles? Tee it up,
because
everyone.
what
Once
I'm saying,
summer, tee up.
But what I'm saying is, if it goes south, you're always going to be attached to that person, the girl, the guy who broke up with, and it just there's always that layer of awkwardness.
You're not bringing them around the same.
No, you can't come
just
around.
Tell people
it's
to grow
hard.
up.
Yeah,
you're right, but it just there will be times where like, oh, I can't go to that because that person's there. Like it's awkward. Sometimes it's just a clean break and move on with your life.
I hear you, Noodles, but maybe there are other situations where it's a day of, you're supposed to go to the game with someone, the guy pulled the chute. You know this guy's willing to show up and go to the game. Why can't you ask him to go to the game?
You can't.
You're not saying, come to an anniversary party. You're saying, hey, we're going to a Leaf game. Two guys, you have a couple of beers, grab a bite, see you later. Nothing wrong with that.
Dear Hayesy-B, my bachelor party is coming up, and 12 of us are going to Denver for a couple Avalanche games and a Bronco game.
Wow.
My younger brother decided to join us. The relationship between me and my brother was always dicey throughout the years, but he started working at the same hospital as me a couple years ago, and we've never been closer. Dinners at each other's houses, game nights with our partners, constant check-ins. It's been great. Me and the rest of the boys coming along always take it deep when partying. And that was the plan until my brother confirmed his RSVP. Do I calm it down on the bachelor party and keep the relationship tight, or floor it with the boys and take my chances he doesn't think I'm the same old degenerate?
Wow.
This sounds like the guy getting married is an absolute mess, and the reason he didn't have a relationship with his brother is because his brother was on the straight and narrow.
Right.
But I'm sorry, the brother that was allegedly on the straight and narrow, you're going on the bachelor party trip.
Right.
That guy is going to revert back to Frank the Tank for 48 hours, and if he's got a problem with it, you got to have a great time. What are you going to show up and go to bed right after the game comes to an end? No chance. You're tailgating. You're hitting bars. You maybe get up to Aspen if you got time. No, you have a great time, and it's all good. I think everyone understands that. If we're all adults in this party, regardless of what you do, on a day-to-day, you understand you're going to have a good time. You're going to have a good time. And if someone doesn't like it, brother or otherwise, that's their problem, not yours.
You floor it.
Yes.
And you floor it, you deal with the consequences later. It's your bachelor party. You enjoy yourself.
Right.
Have a bunch of drinks. Do what you need to do.
You grab them early on and say, you got a problem with this, you shut your mouth. You're going to see some stuff that no one needs to see, and here's $1,000.
You shouldn't have to pay them off.
Give them the handshake.
Just whatever.
too.
You just
Wild.
be a man about this. There's nothing to see here.
Yeah, we're all
this
having
one's
a good time.
important. This one's important. Joe from the Bridge, do not post the language because I have to change some wording around because I don't think it's appropriate.
Okay.
Dear Hayesy-B, I work in a law office with one bathroom. My boss weighs +3 bills, and every time he goes into the bathroom, he doesn't turn the fan on or use spray in the room. He also never washes his hands.
Oh.
Come on, dude.
Do I bring it up with the boss or leave it be?
You don't say a word.
What?
That's an occupational hazard that is just accepted. It's in the fine print. You cannot go to your boss and have bathroom conversations.
No way, dude. I feel comfortable enough with the relationship I have with any of my bosses to say, can I talk to you for a second?
No, you don't.
What happened? No. What happened in there is unacceptable for the rest of the people around.
What's he
you.
supposed to do? What's that guy supposed to do? Change his diet for you because of a conversation?
How about this one? Get your grubby hands back in there and wash your hands.
Well, that's
twice.
fine. I might grant you that. We are coming out of a pandemic, but you're not going to go to the guy and say, hey, Merry Christmas. Here's some Febreze. Or like, what are you
Merry
supposed
Christmas
to
and
say?
eat some salads. Right?
Yeah,
mix
in
in
a salad
so-
and a fan.
Hey,
You're not doing it.
how about this? Why not a gift basket with some Febreze, some hand soap, and just a mixed salad with some greens and a sliced chicken breast on it?
What a message. What a passive-aggressive message that would be.
So
and a small map of the bathroom where the fan switch is on, and
Right.
just say, click here, sir,
When in
you're
use.
ready to rock.
Well,
Click
you could actually, you want to talk about passive aggressive. You just put in a sign in there. You make a sign and say, please turn on the fan with use.
Yeah.
When you use this bathroom, something like that. That way, nobody knows the wiser. It's just that sign appears, and this guy will lay his eyes on it when he's sitting there taking a moose, and maybe he turns the fan on.
I kind of want to meet this boss because this guy has so much confidence. He goes in there every day and could not care less what anyone thinks. Like this guy just you talk about leaving a trail of annoyance. This guy is
The problem.
He's a problem, but he's also the boss. He's the alpha dog, and he's like, be lucky the door's not open. That's gonna be the next policy: is door open.
Please close the door.
I would have
by
no
New
problem with that convo with any boss. You go right up to the top of the chain. I'd say let's get back in there and wash those hands. Give it a try.
Okay. How would you know that he's washing and
Because it's one of those small bathrooms with that crickety old door, and you can
Right.
hear if the sink goes on or not.
right? Well, I
And
guess
this
you're
is
right.
just a flush and jet.
a flush and walk.
That is tough.
A flush and walk is really tough.
That a flush and walk should be on a T-shirt. Flush and walk with like a circle around it with a red line through it. You
Right.
do not flush and walk.
scoot. A flush and scoot.
See you later.
Dear Hayesy-B, a few weeks back, I wrote in about my in-laws visiting during a scheduled golf trip. Well, I took Hazy's advice and sent the dad an email. Told him what was up, that I would be away golfing the weekend they're supposed to come. Well, without even replying, the next day my my wife texted me and said, my parents just called to reschedule their visit. My dad forgot about dental surgery he booked a while ago. Ooh. Still haven't met the guy, but now I know my father-in-law is absolutely 100% gets it, and I definitely owe him. Big thanks to Hayesy-B and the boys for helping me out. Do you guys get what happened here?
I know exactly what happened. You suggested, I believe, send the dad an email direct. Say, hey, I'm in a bind here. I know you're flying in. You surprised us here. We're supposed to meet, but I'm going down to TPC or whatever.
So this guy pulls an ultimate veteran move and calls his daughter and says, I got a dental thing I forgot about. We got to change plans. That's the kind of father-in-law that we're talking about.
Yes, it is. That's a guy that knows what he's talking about, knows how to operate, and knows how to make everyone happy. Right? Everyone's happy. Everyone's pleased. We'll make everything work here. You go tee it. We'll come in the week after, whatever it's going to be. This is why Dear Hayesy-B came into existence, right, for this type of advice. And the idea that there are people out there, our patients are out there abiding by that advice, makes it all worth it in the end. Really does. It really makes this whole segment worth it. That's great to hear.
About that one.
Shout out to everybody, including the father-in-law, who's an awesome guy.
Love to get him on.
Yes,
Last one?
Should. Yeah, one more.
Dear Hayesy-B, my girlfriend and her sister are going on a 10-day trip to Hawaii. Ooh. Wow, that sounds great. Which begins 3 days after our 7th anniversary. I was planning on taking her somewhere for a few days, but those plans are obviously out the window, which sucks. We've always talked about wanting to go to Europe together, but we haven't found the time yet. Is it acceptable to use this trip to Hawaii as a free pass to go to Europe with some of my buddies during the summer without my girlfriend?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. And what you do, and this is the way you sell it, be very supportive of her Hawaiian trip. Really over the top. You're going to have a great time. You know what? I was just doing a little bit of Googling for you. My understanding is you want to get to this island, you want to get to that island, and you really prop up the whole trip. And then right at the end of it, you say, oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, I was talking to Bob. We're going to hit Amsterdam while you're over there. And, and if she comes back over the top saying absolutely not, then you have a significant gripe, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a big card to be able to play. That Europe has always been in the cards. You're dying to get to Europe. You're gonna head over there. What's wrong with that? I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
This guy has all the right in the world.
Yeah.
If anyone approaches a spouse around their anniversary and says, I'm going to Hawaii without you for 10 days, I would be booking a trip, immediately
Green
golfing
light special.
somewhere.
It's green light.
Green
exactly.
light.
Yep. Green light.
Yeah, like you go anywhere, you call up a buddy that you know. We all have one buddy. You could call in 3 hours' notice and say, get on a bird here, get on a bird there, or whatever. I'll meet you here. And they would do it.
Yep.
So I think that's a green light. You send her on her way, make sure she's happy, but then you start making some plans.
Oh, it's set up beautifully for you to get to Europe, and you're being genuine. You were hoping to go with her. That was your plan. Sure, you would have loved to go to Hawaii. You didn't get the invite.
Don't you think it's weird she's going to Hawaii with her friend for 10 days?
I thought she said her sister. Nah,
okay, her
I don't
sister.
know. What are you going to do? It is what it is. It happens. Go to Hawaii, have a great time. The way you compensate is, again, you hit Europe, right? You're going
Yeah.
west, we're going east. We're all going to have a good time. And then the time zones are going to be sort of whack. It's a text here or there. I don't even know if can you find a middle ground for a FaceTime? You probably can.
I'm
But
just saying, man.
What are you going to do?
Google and private investigators in Hawaii. There might be something cooking out there.
Well,
That seems
I
weird.
don't think you have to go all the way to Hawaii for something like that. Seems
So
like
that's where she's going to be.
Yeah. Hawaii would be cool, man. Never been to Hawaii.
It's
Love to
awesome.
get there.
Strutty and I went there.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, big Strut. You want to talk? That was my guy. On the drop of a dime, we lost in the first round. We won the President's Trophy that year. It was St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
We lost to San Jose in the first round. Huge upset. So I thought we were going to go deeper. I called Strutty. I had some buddies going over there, and I said, let's go to Hawaii. On a dime. We flew out like the next day. Or maybe a couple days later after
How did
meeting.
you and him do in Hawaii besides
We ended up,
drink?
I told you this story. We went over with a bunch of Hollywood people. It was Lauren Hawley. There was Bob Dylan's guitarist was with us, Robbie Robertson. Strutty was giving it to him, calling him R squared the whole time.
You're kidding me. Robbie Robertson was on?
Yes, he was with our group. It was insanity.
Wow.
Well, what was Robbie
I think I've
Robertson
told you guys this
saying
story.
back to Strutty when Strutty's chirping him all week?
We had I got us the tickets and I got us upgraded. We got cut off on the plane. There was nothing left in the minibar because that was a long flight. And we landed and they were already enjoying themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And we hit there was, I think, 20 of them that went over. We hit that party like we walked into that hotel like we owned the place.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't know who Bob Dylan's guitarist was. This guy named Robbie Robertson. And we're like, Strutty's yelling at him, calling him R squared the whole time. That's what he was.
I take such issue with the idea that he's Bob Dylan's guitarist. He founded the band.
The band, yes.
The band's one of the great Canadian bands of all time.
That,
he just passed away, Robbie Robertson.
He did. And I saw that special
Canadian
on TV.
legend.
I've got a picture
Bob
from
Dylan's
the trip.
guitarist.
Well,
that would be something Strutty would say.
That's what he was calling him, R squared. He's Bob Dylan's guitarist. I've got pictures of the trip of us sitting there,
That's
and
amazing.
Robbie Robertson is sitting like off to the right with a buddy, and it's crazy. There was a guy named Happy Walters on there. He started Death Row Records.
You're kidding.
And then, he's a huge agent, I think, in the NBA. I think he's
Maybe he's
an NBA
Otani's
business.
guy.
He
Maybe
might
he was
be.
on that plane on its way up.
Who knows? It was a crazy trip, but that was
All right.
Strutty was my guy.
That's great.
Within 3 hours' notice, he was on a bird.
Drop on a dime and start
Yeah.
chirping Robbie Robertson. That sounds like Strutty.
Yeah, that's Strutty.
Today's best bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Got a Sunday parlay in the NFL. Bengals, spread. Falcons, spread. Saints, money line. Saints at home against Carolina. It's sneaky. I like them on the money line. Parlay that. Today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. Same-game parlays this NFL season now include passing touchdowns and receptions on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly. 18 plus and physically located in Ontario. We'll wrap up what was a pretty wild day. Pretty significant little roller coaster, or a little flight is what we should be calling it.
I just got a message said Kikuchi party of 49.
Yes, or
saw that.
Kikuchi. All you say is downtown at some sushi joint. And he doesn't know what he's supposed to do now. That's what everyone was saying. It was like this VIP sushi, like 5-star spot downtown. You say Kikuchi.
I'll tell you
booked it.
what, that's the last time we're doing that.
I
Unless
know.
we
We
see
fell
a
into
guy
the
get
trap.
off the. Yeah, we did.
We fell
Unless
in.
we see the guy with our own eyes, or there's a press release, we're not doing that ever again.
There was
I'm
tough.
with you.
It's
I'm
tough.
with you on
Doogie,
that.
that's on you too.
Come on,
That hurt.
Doogie.
Yeah,
Come
that
on,
hurt.
Doogie. All right, OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, Mail It In Fridays brought to you by Boston Pizza's new Square Footer Pizzas. BP is reinventing the wheel with our 3 new Square Footer Pizzas, an entire square foot of more cheese, crunch, and taste. These new pizzas are an absolute must-try at your local BP tonight. So Boston Pizza will be rocking, right? You get the Raptors in action. You get the Leafs back home tomorrow night against Nashville. You got NFL action all weekend. And we continue our tracking of Shohei Ohtani.
Yes.
Otani is still unsigned. He is not a Blue Jay. He's not in town. He's not an Angel. He's not a Dodger. He's not a Giant. He's nothing. Just a free agent at this point.
Does Morosi comment, you think? Like, sorry, I got that one wrong?
Well, last time I checked, his tweet was still up. You know, it's been 2.5 hours since he tweeted. Sources are telling him Ohtani is on his way to Toronto. And then that got refuted by everyone in the industry.
Yeah, that's a tough one, though.
It's tough, man.
Tough.
It's a tough one to overcome.
Like
"Oop,
more than
my
one
bad."
person came over the top.
Yeah, like a lot of people are like, "Yep, Bobby Nightingale's got this one. Old Bobby, he knows what's up." So yeah, the Ohtani watch continues, and whenever he signs, if he signs in Toronto, we'll be all over it here on TSN Radio. Like, we're all on high alert. We're waiting to talk about this, but as of now, we have no reason to believe that's going to happen or when it's going to happen or what. So we had a full week of Shohei Ohtani speculation.
Yeah.
Right? A full week, and nothing has come of it. So dream is still alive.
Exactly. It's not dead yet.
Not dead yet. He still could be a Blue Jay, absolutely. All right, thanks to everyone behind the scenes for all the help and all the work all week, Doogie included. Doogie, get yourself out there, do your thing this weekend. We're rooting you on, and we're cheering for Doogie. We're
going to get him on TV next week.
We'll get him on TV,
Yes.
Absolutely. Thanks to everyone for tuning in all week. TV, radio, podcast, web, we appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy your weekends. We're back Monday at
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.